A foggy morning lingers across the landscape. The edges of things are softer than usual. Nothing can be seen very far ahead. And if you're honest, that may feel familiar. Because there are seasons when the nervous system becomes convinced that safety depends on knowing what comes next. Not everything, just enough. Enough to prepare. Enough to avoid mistakes. Enough to stay ahead of disappointment. Enough to make sure nothing important catches you by surprise. At first, it feels reasonable, responsible even. You think through possibilities. You plan. You adjust. You stay aware. But somewhere along the way, preparing can quietly become carrying, and carrying can quietly become controlling. Not because you wanted control, because uncertainty started feeling heavier than it used to. The strange thing is that most people never notice when this happens. They simply get used to the feeling of being slightly ahead of themselves, always thinking about next week, next month, the next conversation, the next outcome, the next thing that could go wrong. Life continues, but part of the nervous system is rarely where life actually is. The fog remains, still, hidden, present. Still, hidden, present. The rhythm feels simple, but something about it stays with you. Because the fog does not fight the distance. It does not force visibility. It does not rush clarity. And yet, clarity eventually arrives anyway. That observation lands somewhere quietly, not as an answer, just as something worth noticing. For a long time, perhaps the mind has carried an assumption that if enough preparation happens, uncertainty can be prevented, that if enough planning happens, discomfort can be avoided, that if enough attention is given to every possibility, life will finally become predictable. And maybe there was a season when that felt necessary. Maybe there were moments when being prepared truly mattered. Moments when staying alert helped. Moments when caution served an important purpose. But the body cannot remain in preparation forever. Eventually, preparation becomes tension. Eventually, awareness becomes vigilance. Eventually, the future begins occupying more space than the present. The breath feels slightly watched. The chest carries invisible responsibility. The shoulders hold conversations that have not happened yet. Not because anything is wrong, because uncertainty has been treated like a problem that must be solved before life can continue. The fog remains unchanged, still, hidden, present. The rhythm returns differently now. There is something interesting about hidden things. The mind often assumes hidden means absent, yet so much of life exists before it can be seen. A sunrise exists before it reaches the horizon. A season changes before the landscape notices. Growth happens before evidence appears. And perhaps possibilities work that way too. Not visible, still present. The body responds before the thought fully settles. A little more room appears in the chest. The jaw eases without effort. The breath moves without being monitored quite as closely. Nothing has been resolved, yet less effort is required. That alone feels surprising. Because so much energy has been spent trying to create certainty, trying to protect tomorrow, trying to guarantee outcomes that cannot actually be guaranteed. The nervous system grows tired, carrying responsibilities that belong to time itself. A bird suddenly calls somewhere beyond the fog, clear, brief, unexpected. Then silence returns. Nothing changed, yet attention wakes up. And with that small interruption comes another possibility, not an answer, a possibility. What if the future does not need to be managed as tightly as it has been? The question lands differently than it once would have, not because certainty has arrived, because the grip around uncertainty has loosened slightly. There are things that can be chosen. There are things that can be influenced. There are things that deserve care. But there are also things that unfold without permission. Connections, timing, opportunities, unexpected turns, new beginnings. Life has always contained things beyond control, yet somehow life continues creating itself anyway. The fog begins revealing a little more distance, not all at once, not dramatically, just enough. And perhaps that is often how clarity arrives, not as total visibility, just enough for the next step. The body settles deeper into support. More weight is being carried by what is beneath you. Less urgency is needed. Less preparation is needed. Less reaching is needed. Still, hidden, present. The rhythm returns one more time, and now it feels almost reassuring. Because hidden does not mean absent, uncertain does not mean unsafe, unseen does not mean impossible. The future may not need to be controlled in order to be trusted. Not trusted because it is guaranteed, trusted because life has continued unfolding through countless unknowns already. There were chapters you could not predict, conversations you could not anticipate, people you could not plan for, possibilities you could not see coming. And yet life kept arriving. Not perfectly, not always easily, but it arrived. The nervous system feels this before it understands it. The breath moves easier. The chest has more room. The future feels less like something that must be held together by force. There is space now, not certainty, space. Space for life to reveal itself. Space for timing to unfold. Space for what is becoming to arrive at its own pace. The fog remains for now, but it no longer feels like an obstacle. It feels like part of the journey, part of the unfolding, part of the becoming. Still, hidden, present. And somewhere beyond what can currently be seen, life is already moving. Possibility is already moving. Something meaningful is already becoming. Not because it is controlled, because life has never required complete control in order to continue opening. And tonight, that opening continues.